Hi everybody, I am Miss Maggie Lou and welcome back to my Felt Playfood series. In this tutorial we are making these cute little lobster tails using a pattern that we're going to upload to our Cricut Maker. We are going to pick up the pace a little bit with this tutorial, so if you haven't already watched the lemon slice tutorial, go check that one out now. It's a great introductory to Felt Playfood. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can stay updated on more entrees and fun food that I will roll out in the future. For the lobster tails, we're using orange and white felt, light pink sewing thread, black sewing thread, light pink embroidery floss, and our embroidery scissors. As I've mentioned before, any felt that you find at the craft store is perfectly fine. I included links in the descriptions to the specific materials that I am using in this video if you'd like to check those out. All materials needed are listed there as well. I'm going to machine sew these lobster tails, but with a little bit of extra patience you can hand sew them, and I do have videos coming out in the future that are hand sew only so you can see the difference. After you've gathered your materials, make sure that you download the pattern. The link is in the description and it is an SVG file that is compatible with Cricut Design Space. Okay, let's go. Once you've located the file on your device, let's upload it and name it Lobster. All I'm going to do is resize him so the orange part is about 6 inches long and then duplicate him to make 2 of them. We'll just make them on a 12 by 12 mat and just rearrange them according to how much material and what size material that you have. Select felt, and every time you do this you are going to have to go in and change it to the rotary blade. Smooth it down as much as possible for a clean cut and load them on in. I'll show you now how we're going to assemble these tails. This guy's going to go on top like that, and then these white pieces we will sew together first to make the meat of the lobster, and then this will just go right on top. Make sure that you keep these edges very crisp together. We're going to secure those with some pins, and we'll come back to that in just a bit. We are using a basic stitch just to put together the white meat. Make sure that you really reinforce those edges from start to finish. I usually do this by just going back and forth a few times at the beginning and the end. That first piece should look like this when you're done. Each lobster has 4 panels we're sewing together. Now let's do the same with the other 2. We're going to place them together like this, like 2 open books, giving each other a hug. That's the best way I can explain it. Then let's secure that with a pin. And we're only sewing the sides, as you notice. We are not sewing the top and the bottom yet. Very, very gently fold it inside out by just rolling the ends around it. This is where reinforcing those stitches really come in handy. You don't want them to come undone. There's the meat for your lobster. We want to sew the top onto the bottom, but the design that we use is completely up to you. This is where you can be a little creative if you'd like. Just a little visual to see what direction I'm going here though. The reason I chose black thread is because I want the lobsters to have a little bit of a grilled effect to them, but if you'd like to use a dark red or a dark orange, that's totally up to you as well. No, madam, I like to boil my lobsters. I do not like to grill them. Okay, next we're going to take our scissors and just cut about 1/4 inch onto each panel, about 3 of them on each side. Now I'm going to sew an outline around the edges. There's one finished side. Now let's repeat the process on the other side. we go too much further, let's add the meat. Take the very end of the meat and tuck it in just under the top of that tail fin. Get it in there nice and snug. I'm going to use the edge setting on my machine just to give it a nice aesthetic, but it also holds it in there a little better than a regular stitch. I want to sew the top layer flat onto the bottom layer and also give it a little bit of design, so this is where I'm just going to use a zigzag pattern across the bottom. You can use whatever pattern you'd like. To give it a little more texture, I take my embroidery scissors and I just snip the edges that are hanging out below on the bottom. When adding the stuffing, I like to make mine a little bit plump. I like to embroider the top with some pink thread and just do a little blanket stitch on top. You can just do the rest with the sewing machine if you'd like. I kind of like the texture that it gives it. Two things here. I'm securing the white meat to the back of the lobster shell, and I'm also giving it a little aesthetic with the pink embroidery floss. Pull it pretty tight as you come up through and then back down again. Then just trim and tie off the back. Now just repeat that process about 2/3 of the way up. If you're gonna gift or sell these, I would probably just cut out a piece of orange and sew it over the back to hide the rest of your stitches there. After that, you can give it a few more stitches just to give it a little design in the white meat, adding a little pink for texture. On the last step, I'm going to secure down the edges with black sewing thread. Sewing thread being very thin will go right through the felt no matter how many times you tie the end, so I just make a little loop first and then I sew it in after that so that it stays secure. Once you're happy with how those are folded over and how they look, you're done with the overall shape of the lobster. The butter is optional. All you have to do is just cut some yellow squares out and just sew them right onto the top. But other than that, you are now done with your lobster. And what better to go with your lobster dinner than a little macaroni salad? Thank you so much for making these lobster tails with me, and if you'd like to check out that little side salad to go with them, just stay tuned because that will be coming up next.